Well, people really love it. Your Voice America. Welcome to the show tonight. This is Friday, and it is the 5th of May. And this is the great thing about the show. Every day, something good happens in Trump land that we get to report on. And today, the jobs numbers, 211,000 jobs created. And you know what the best part of about that jobs numbers was? There were about like 480,000 full-time jobs created and like 320,000 part-time jobs lost. If we counted full-time jobs 2-to-1 to part-time jobs, there would have been 400,000 jobs gained in this job cycle. Here's the crazy thing about our government. Our government counts a part-time job, like mowing your neighbor's lawn, the same as a heart surgeon, a doctor, full-time job. It is completely, totally insane. Cooking the books. Completely and totally insane. And they look back on Obama's job growth, his creation, the millions of jobs created, and they found out that I think it was 93 or 94% of all jobs created under Obama were part-time work, were gig work. Yep. You know what that is? That shows an economy that is a defensive economy where employers are hiring just enough people to keep the doors open. So if all that government largesse ends and all that government spending ends, they can retract quickly without going belly up. Okay. But then when you have a Trump economy, they start hiring full-time people. They start investing in people. Wages go up, which we've also seen wages starting to go up in this cycle. Wages go up because they start competing for talent, because they start seeing the people not as overhead, but as assets. And they start investing in those assets. And once they invest in those assets, they don't want to lose them to their competitors who are paying just a little bit more. So wages go up, and you start having careers as a part to gig work. And then when you have careers, people start buying cars, they start buying houses, they start making investments, they invest in the stock market because they believe they have a future. They are no longer defensive either. They become offensive in their spending and in their investing, and the entire economy rises up. And this is a concept that liberals simply cannot conceive of. They can't. They don't get it. So anyway, great show tonight. I think you're going to enjoy it. We got Brian Hassine with us. He's our regular Friday night guy here. He is from beautiful Southern California, living proof that you can be a Trump conservative in Southern California, in Laguna Beach. Beautiful area out there. I used to live out there myself. He is the owner of a very good jewelry salon out there, has magaring.com, where they have the beautiful Trump rings, and has been an invaluable addition to this show. People love him. I get comments all the time. I like that guy, Brian Hassine. He's got good comments.
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate that.
Dude, I get those comments all the time. So how are you, Brian? Good?
I'm doing great. Very passionate about what we're doing, and I'm waiting for the weekend to show us what's going to happen in France. So I think that might be a big topic today.
Yeah, definitely. And hopefully you're ready to talk about it, because I didn't research that much today, so you'll be the guy on that. Next, step right into that one.
I got my whole family in Switzerland and France, so we're okay.
Oh, great. Okay, fantastic. Next, you may recognize someone new. Next to me, this is Brendan Dilley. We just did a spotlight with him this week. He's got a good presence on Twitter. He goes by @HubLife on Twitter. You may recognize him. He is a personal trainer, a life coach, and just an all-around great guy. And I invited him on the show because so often he would say things on Twitter, and I was like, that sounds like something I would say. So I really liked him. And welcome to the show, Brendan. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing excellent today, Bill. Thank you.
Fantastic. Now, where are you based out of, Brendan?
I'm in Phoenix, Arizona,
Phoenix,
man.
Arizona.
It's 104 today.
104.
I was telling Brian earlier, I was like, man, I had to bump the AC way down because I was melting, even inside.
Let's talk about, first of all, with the jobs data that came out. I'll just read to you a little bit from an article here. April jobs up 211,000. Unemployment rate falls to 4.4%. Okay, and you got to remember that all the economists predicted that if Trump became president, the economy, jobs, everything would go straight to hell. The stock market would crash. Everything goes straight to hell. Here's the thing. I've always wondered why they call these people experts, why they call these people economists. They say that God created economists to make weathermen look accurate. These guys they're always wrong. They're constantly wrong. All the pundits constantly wrong. Guys like, Bill Kristol was out there attacking Trump today. This guy has literally never been right in 2 years.
Oh,
Charles Krauthammer. I used to love Charles Krauthammer. He's saying, oh yeah, America's going single payer in 7 years. Dude, he's been on the show. He's wrong constantly.
Right.
Nate Silver. Yeah, Hillary would have won the election if it wasn't for the FBI thing. Wrong again. These guys are always wrong.
Not even close.
And then
Barack
these same
Obama lost 1.5 million jobs in his first 3 months.
Did he really?
1.5 million jobs lost in the first 3 months. Think about that.
Here's the thing: a lot of people don't realize recessions, if you leave them alone, tend to be self-correcting. Okay, because what a recession is caused because there's a bubble in the economy, and when the bubble bursts, everything shakes out. Okay, strong survive, and then the economy comes back. This is normal. Okay, but when the government interjects all that money into it, it changes everything. And people don't realize, people say, oh, Obama saved us from the greatest recession ever. No, he didn't. He prolonged it. Just like FDR prolonged his depression. Okay, because if you look at the economy had bottomed out and it was starting to head back up again. And then Obama did his stimulus, went right back down again.
Right back down.
Yeah, you just cannot put fake money in. Go ahead, Brendan.
No, I was just going to say I agree, and we had discussed this the other day where when I first got into politics, I was the guy that drew me in was Ron Paul, Dr. Ron Paul, and his sound money, the philosophy of sound money. And you're absolutely right, Bill. I think it was one of those things where when you've got bad investments, you got investment, and you allow that to work itself out in a capitalist society, it'll clear itself out usually in a 12 to 18 month window, somewhere around there.
They always self-correct.
And then we have from that, it self-corrects, and then you usually are going to get new businesses and new ventures and new mergers and all kinds of. This is the beauty of capitalism is the system will correct itself, right? And so when you interject and you start subsidizing a lot of these companies and these businesses, it completely screws with the way the system is supposed to set up, and you hit the nail on the head. It ends up dragging out recessions and so on and so forth. So
because the weak survive, and the strong pay for it. And you can't have an economy that works that way. It's Margaret Thatcher said that socialism works until the people with money run out, and then it doesn't work anymore. So exactly. That's what
this is going to be a little more like Ronald Reagan 1980s. That's what I feel like this is going to be more like when those tax cuts kick in 83 and 84, and then built an entire industry on the back of those tax cuts. We're going to see the same thing coming up right now.
Oh, yeah. People are going to be amazed. I would not be surprised if we don't see regular annual GDP of around 4%, maybe higher. And I said this early on in the campaign. I said the number one economic problem that Donald Trump will face and his economic advisors will face is inflation, because this economy is going to grow so fast that they're going to have to raise interest rates to keep inflation under control, because we just start spinning out of control. I believe that I heard that housing prices in the last month are just up like 11%. I mean, my house, since Donald Trump became president, my house has gone up like $30,000 in value. Just sitting here.
Well, and Bill, out here in Phoenix, Arizona, I'm about 30 miles southeast of Phoenix in a little kind of emerging city called Queen Creek. And I can tell you right now, within probably a 4-mile radius of my house, there's 16 home builders. And I've got some friends over there that are in that business, and they are doing the lottery system right now for sales. It's that popular. There's so much demand, and it's starting to drive up. And the difference this time is it's not being driven by free credit or irresponsible lending practices. It's being driven by a legitimate economy that's getting ready to boom. It's being driven by the idea of jobs, career jobs, not part-time jobs, but legitimate jobs. And I think that's one of the big differences. And I think that's why this presidency, we could see one of the bigger and longer stretches of economic growth probably in American history, because I think that we are so due for legitimate growth. And I think it's here.
Absolutely. And, construction jobs will start going back to Americans again. Some of these construction jobs pay well. I was talking to some people here in North Carolina, and they're like, this guy says, I used to do construction. Why not? Well, because the illegals took it over. I couldn't get a job. I couldn't get a job in construction, so I wasn't willing to work for the pennies that they were. So that's going to be another opportunity. Now, I know that real estate values have got to be going up where Brian Hassine lives. I heard that you used to be able to get a 400 square foot flat with a 1-car garage for $4 million, and now it's $5 million out there.
You mean a 4,000 square foot?
No, a 100 square. No, I'm just kidding. It's very expensive.
Okay.
It's very expensive. When I used to live in, I tell you what, the house that I live in right now, if I took this house, lifted it up in the air, flew it by helicopter, and plunked it down in Laguna de Guel, it'd be about $3 million house. I mean, it's just crazy.
I pay the taxes. Trust me, I know all about that. The biggest problem out here is they didn't do any building because the last 8 years everything was so negative, and no one felt good about where we were heading, and there was very little confidence. So what ends up happening is all the builders went away. They stopped building. Instead, they started building apartments. And now what you see in my area now, you see these apartments going up, and there's a 2-bedroom apartments that are going for $3,500 a month.
I know.
So
it's crazy.
So now these people are saying, like, wait a second, what am I renting at $3,500 a month? They go to look for a house, but unfortunately, the supply is very low now. Oh, wow. So now we got to get those builders out there and those construction guys. But the problem with that is all those construction guys went to college for some incorrect reason.
Right.
They should have been learning how to build things, and instead we sent them to a liberal arts degree.
California is nice, but if you want to live in California, bring money and lots of it, because
well, not the only problem with California too is it's so because of the red tape with growth in that state, and this is one of the reasons I left. I served my time for 20 years and I got out. I was in Northern California.
The weather's great.
Never come back. I mean, I escaped, man, and honestly. From the development aspect, because I do have a background in working in real estate development, is there's so much red tape for approval that if you're not already like Brian just stated, if you didn't have I guess if you didn't view things through the lens of there's going to be opportunity, if you didn't believe there was growth coming, and you're slow to the party, by the time you're in the ground, you're 2-3 years down the road because it's so hard to get approvals on anything in the state of California when it comes to business.
Right. You almost have to start when you're wrong to be right when you actually can build.
Donald Trump would be that guy, by the way. Donald Trump was always the guy that went in and took the dilapidated building that no one wanted when everyone was turning their eye and built it into a magnificent structure. And he did that several times. So it's interesting you use that analogy, Bill, because it feeds us right into Donald Trump's whole career.
Yeah. Donald Trump, I'm telling you, folks,
and so part of, I think, what we're seeing is culturally, you're seeing people starting to warm up to the idea of, wow, these job numbers are really good. These full-time job numbers are really good. I'm starting to being offered positions of better employment, offered raises, more responsibility, so on and so forth. And I think a lot of people, it's going to take a little while for them to, frankly, get used to winning and learning how to win again.
Right. What do you think, Brian?
Well, I was just going to say, to add to that, is that Donald Trump is the most positive, most ambitious, most patriotic person in the entire United States of America. So when you get a guy like that everything looks rosy to, and you stick him in the position he's at, he immediately ignites the fire under the feet of the American people. Right. And that's where you get this consumer confidence coming in from that drives everything. So the fact that we have Donald Trump as the leader right now is what's so incredible for what Brendan just talked about. Is that this is the kind of guy you want to be hearing from as we go forward. And this is what we want our children to be hearing as they grow up, because the children of the last decade grew up under Barack Obama, which taught everything that was a negative. The first thing Barack Obama did was get on a plane and travel around the world and apologize for everything. Right. The first thing Donald Trump did was invite leaders to the United States of America and say, this is a new day. The United States of America is the greatest nation on earth, and we always will be. And that confidence that he brings us is what actually gives us the force to what we're going to be seeing in the coming years. And it comes from our heart, and it comes from our gut. And what the left doesn't understand is, and then the media doesn't understand, is you can't stop that. You can't control someone's heart and someone's gut. You can control their mind by screwing with them, but you can't control what they're feeling in their heart, Bill. And that's why it's not going to work.
Yeah, go ahead. When you take somebody like Donald Trump, who's got 4 decades of winning, and sure, has he had failures? Of course. Anybody who takes risks has failures. You show me a businessman who's been in business for 40 years and has got no failures. I show you somebody who's not taking chances, who's not pushing the envelope enough. So sure, he's had things that didn't work out. But overall, I think it was 99.2% of his businesses have succeeded. And I used to say this in response to people who said he's had bankruptcies. He had 4 bankruptcies out of 500 companies. That's a 99.2% success rate. If you want to know how to become a billionaire in America today, succeed 99.2% of the time. So Donald Trump not only wants to win, and nobody wants to win more than, but he expects to win. And let me tell you, that makes a huge difference. I was a headhunter for 30 years. Sometimes I would decide to move into another area a little bit, okay? And when I started out headhunting in accounting and finance. Boring, but it was good. Steady, right? And then I moved into marketing and sales. That was interesting too. And then I wanted to move into IT, especially when the whole this ERP thing was exploding and the big money and the consulting. These guys, you were placing, if I placed a marketing guy at $80,000 a year, that was a banner year. I mean, just staff consultants with these consulting firms were making $125,000 a year and they're paying 33% fees on them. It's like, boom, I want to get in there. And people said, you'll never get in there. You'll never do it. It's flooded. You'll never get in. But you know what? I had been so successful. I worked for a firm in San Francisco. I was their #1 recruiter. They lost like 60 people in there. I had months, $60,000, $100,000 a month in business I did. I was so successful. I was used to being successful that I went into the IT area expecting to win. Okay. Now I wasn't cocky. I wasn't arrogant. I didn't call these companies and like, yeah, you'll be lucky to work with me. I just had an attitude of success, expecting to win. And I would, call these firms. And they would say, there was one firm in Houston I called, and they're like, yeah, we've already got a list of recruiters. We got 5 recruiters reviews and so on and so forth. But I just had this sense that I expected, and I just started talking about their industry and their business, and they started connecting with me. And within 2 months, they got rid of all 5 of the other recruiters. I was their exclusive recruiter for their entire ERP program.
Nice.
Yeah, just expect to win. And this is one of the ways, people say, Bill, how did you go from 140 followers to 215,000 followers on Twitter? How did you go from occasionally, tweeting, what you had for breakfast that morning to having 30 articles written about you in the Washington Times, the Washington Post, all this stuff, being on TV shows, having a very successful radio show that does 100,000 plays a day. How this? Because I expected to win. And I picked the guy who I expected to win, and he just keeps winning. And people say, Bill Mitchell, why are you such a cheerleader? Well, because we're winning. Isn't that what you're supposed to do when you're winning? You cheer? Isn't that how it works?
And we needed it. We really needed it as a nation. We were teeter-tottering on the edge of the cliff.
Oh yeah.
One more generation of leftist leadership, we would have not been able to recover from that. So the timing was impeccable.
Yeah, we dodged the bullet. It grazed us.
There's so much to be said.
Yeah,
so I was just going to say, just to your guys' point, is this country was founded on entrepreneurs. This country was founded by people who rolled up their sleeves and did it with a smile on their face and weren't afraid to get dirty. And kind of like what you were just touching on, Bill, is failure is, in entrepreneurship, it's a rite of passage, man. Like, that's part of the deal. Like, you start out so you can learn and you can meet people and you can learn things and try new methods of marketing, find out what the market actually wants. Is your product in line with it? And I think the fact that Donald Trump, you hit the nail on the head, a 99% of success is insane. That is such an insane number for an entrepreneur to be carrying after 40 years. Yeah. And I think it really says a lot about his acumen and his willingness to build large organizations through that enthusiasm.
God sent to us, and they want to act like they're not sure. But the fact that we've got 1/6 of the economy riding on the line, and Donald Trump understands that. The guy's a very smart man. This is not going to be fixed in 1 week. We have to take it slow by slow and go piece by piece. But it's very important. And because the American people were given this health care for 8 years and they've gotten used to this welfare plan in many ways, it's going to be very hard to extract some of the goodies that have been given out to them. So now we have to figure out how to let the people that need it have some of those goodies, but yet redirect it somehow that it can work for the system more in a better way for the doctors, the hospitals, and the patients. And that's why it's a little difficult. But hey, the fact that we all want the same thing is the goal. And the fact that we're all on the same path is all that I care about. Whether or not we fix it next week or next month is totally irrelevant. When they talk about 100...
It's crazy. Well, let me read you a little bit more about these job numbers. Job creation in April bounced back from a disappointing March. The March numbers were crap. I mean, we don't go from 250,000 jobs created to 70,000 jobs created back to 211,000. It was just a bad number, okay?
Doesn't make sense.
Because and people forget that when the Labor Department came out and said it was 71,000, ADP had announced that it was like 260,000. So, I mean, ADP and the labor are usually 10 or 20,000 apart, not 210,000 apart, okay? No. So, anyway, it's a crap number. Anyway, with non-farm payrolls growing by 211,000, while the unemployment rate fell to 4.4%, its lowest since May of 2007. Economists surveyed by Reuters have been expecting payroll growth of 185,000. Again, economists, they never get anything right. You know, they might as well just guess, right? And the headline jobless rate to tick up to 4.6%. Again, they were wrong. The payroll increase nearly tripled the dismal March number. The dismal March number, of course, was never real in the first place. Market experts believe the report likely cements an imminent interest rate hike. Before you freak out about that, that helps to prevent inflation, and we don't want inflation. Okay, don't want another bubble economy. We want slow, steady growth, you know. Okay, the market sorely needed a shot of unambiguously positive hard data. Quincy Crosby, what a great name, Quincy Crosby, market strategist at Prudential Financial, said in a statement. This morning's employment report suggests the Fed will most certainly move in June. You know, the Fed raised rates, I think, one time during the entire Obama presidency. I think under Trump, they've already raised them, what, 3 times? 2 or 3 times?
Twice, 3 times, something, yeah.
Crazy. Yeah.
And the market crashed when they raised it during Obama's.
Yeah, that's right.
Raise.
Yeah, and now the market just keeps going up.
Quarter point.
Wages grew 7 cents an hour to an annualized pace of 2.5%. You know what I told you, folks? When you go into an economy, an aggressive, offensive economy where employers are hiring employees as assets and not as overhead, where they're no longer defensive, but they're looking to grow for the future on real supply and demand, not being defensive because they're afraid that when the government stimulus ends, all the demand is going to end, that wages go up. Wages grew 7 cents an hour to an annualized pace of 2.5%. We told you. Folks, this show's we're never wrong on the show. I'm just telling you. We aren't.
No.
That sounds arrogant, but we just aren't. Go ahead.
You know, what's incredible, Bill, I mean, think about this. These numbers came out and they reflect last month's thinking. This is before the vote that just was had yesterday. Yeah. When employers start to actually believe Obamacare is being rolled back and we're getting that thing moved out of there, I think that you're going to see job hiring, employment hiring go through the roof. And that's I was so excited to see these numbers today because I was tepid. I thought, you know, you don't know where you're going to be at until you see the numbers and what they're really showing. To see that strong a job growth in recovery, especially like as you stated with the full-time employment, and this is prior to the colossal failure that is Obamacare, that as Brian stated, is 1/6 of the economy. Knowing that you're getting that out of there and you're going to free up the employers and a lot of these businesses to start hiring again, it should be an exciting summer and fall.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that Brian either is having a coma or there he goes. Okay. You were frozen, Brian, for a second.
I was like, damn, I put him to sleep.
It could be a coma.
Brian is at a stroke. Brian, the image that was frozen of you was your eyes were kind of half like you had a stroke. I was like, oh man, poor Brian.
Oh man, you're right.
You know, it's funny because the reason why
I was gonna
go ahead.
I was gonna say the 2.3% increase in wages. Yeah. That was a big number. The fact that people are getting a raise at their jobs. I know a lot of people the last decade have not seen $1 in increase of wages yet because of cost of goods going up. They've actually lost wages. So the 2.3% number was a big number for me to see that come in.
Absolutely. And let me tie in, and Brendan made me think of this. Let me tie this into the list of Obamacare taxes that were repealed. In this thing, you know, I had people coming into my Twitter feed today saying, "Oh, this new bill is just Obamacare light." I'm like, "Will you get off the stupid phrases? No, it's not. It's nothing like Obamacare." Oh, it's just Obamacare light. It's like, what do you go to a seminar and learn to say that? That anytime Trump does something, you just call it Obama light. Well, no matter what it is, that's just your phrase. I mean, it's idiotic to say that. Okay,
talking points.
The American Health Care Act, HR 1628, passed by the House today, reduces taxes on the American people by over $1 trillion. The bill abolishes the following taxes imposed by Obama and the Democrat Party in 2010 as part of Obamacare. It abolishes the Obamacare individual mandate, which hit 8 million Americans a year. Abolishes the Obamacare employer mandate tax. Together with repeal of the individual mandate, this is a $270 billion tax cut. And remember, folks, what was it? 50 employees? There was the level where you had to do the... How many companies, how many small businesses, and small businesses employ most people in this country, not the huge corporations, small business. How many small businesses cut their employees back to 49 so they could avoid these taxes? Okay, absolutely. With that gone, they're going to be just growing. Okay, 49, the hell with it, 50, 75, 100 employees. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, abolishes Obamacare's medicine cabinet tax, which hits 20 million Americans with health savings accounts and 30 million Americans with flexible spending accounts. This is a $6 billion tax cut. Abolishes Obamacare's flexible spending account tax on 30 million Americans. This is a $20 billion tax cut. Abolishes Obamacare's chronic care tax on 10 million Americans with high out-of-pocket medical expenses. This is a $126 billion tax cut. Abolishes Obamacare's HSA withdrawal tax. This is a $100 million tax cut. Abolishes Obamacare's 10% excise tax on small businesses with indoor tanning services. Yay, tanning beds are back. I don't know. Do people still use those? I don't know. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm not a tanning bed guy, so try not to get skin cancer. Okay. This is a $600 million tax cut. Apparently a lot of people are using them. $600 million. Okay. Abolishes the Obamacare health insurance tax. This is a $140 billion tax cut. Abolishes the Obamacare 3.8 surtax on investment income. This is a $172 billion tax cut. Abolishes the Obamacare medical device tax. This is a $20 billion tax cut. Abolishes the Obamacare tax on prescription medicine. That's a $28 billion tax cut. Abolishes the Obamacare tax on retiree prescription drug coverage. That's a $2 billion tax cut. So, in other words, except for saving the American people $1 trillion in taxes, this is exactly like Obamacare.
Okay.
This is Obamacare light. This is Obamacare light, except for saving the American taxpayer $1 trillion. It's exactly the same. It's Obamacare light, exactly. People say these things; they're idiotic. I don't want to come out on Twitter and say, you're an idiot. I'm very tempted.
Right. Well, crazy. People are just they can't trust most media sources, as you mentioned, for legitimate information. And the worst part is, Bill, I think a lot of the people that are in media, as you just stated, don't know what the hell they're talking about. They're reading off of a teleprompter. And so all it takes is one person with an agenda above that to propagate an idea, and then it gets, kind of circulated throughout everything. I mean, right. The idea that you would call this Obamacare light is like me looking at your Bentley or Rolls Royce, and I've got my little dumpster fire behind me and saying, well, they're basically the same thing because they both have four wheels.
They're both cars, sort of. Yeah, crazy. What do you think, Brian?
We're at a fork in the road.
Yeah.
And we really were. There's we had two choices to make as a society. We're either going to continue down the same path that Obama had put in front of us, a liberal path, the government's in control, your life isn't really going to be dictated by what you do, by what someone else does for you, versus this whole other path of optimism that if you just get up and do the right thing, the opportunities are going to be there. We're not going to get in your way. Government's not going to stand in your way and put these barriers in front of you. Use your mind, use your heart, go out and do things. And we had these two choices. And it couldn't have been any clearer this election. Some elections in the past, like with Bush and Clinton and all this, we realize now that those were really the same path. They were just sort of colored in a different picture for us. But now we really see that there were two complete, distinct options as a people that we needed to choose from. And thank God the United States stepped up at the last second. And the rest of the world, unfortunately, might be too late. And we're very close to talking about that with the French election that we're going to talk about and what's gone on in Britain where they saved themselves at the last second. And people all around the world need to follow the model that we're presenting for them right now. That if you just let your people do what they need to do and get out of the way, that's how you help people.
Right.
Not by telling them that you're going to come and knock on their door and save them. That's how you ruin people. You take away from their human nature. So the fact that we had that distinction between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump that made it so clear for us is what made those people come out off their chairs in Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, the silent majority, the people that had given up for 5 decades. That's what made them get up, because it was clear to them what was really going on in this election.
Absolutely.
Brian, actually, Brian, you made a great point too, is you're talking about the pendulum swinging essentially. And that's the thing is, everything has a tipping point. Everything. It doesn't matter what we're talking about here. There is a tipping point. And I think it started with Brexit. You nailed it. There was a tipping point where the people finally had enough. And sometimes when you reach a tipping point where things are bad enough, you don't always have to know exactly about the new path you're taking. The one thing you start to realize is there's no way in hell I'm taking the old path. And I think culturally that happened at Brexit. And this is something I predicted last March, April, May. I wrote about this and was talking about this shift that was occurring. And you started to see that pendulum swinging. And I think a lot of the people on the left, whatever that ideology you're pushing, this is the beginning of the pendulum swinging. where we're going to be at 8 years from now will be completely unrecognizable from the last 8 years. That's how these things always go. And I think it's God help the French people if they don't get there and preached. We saw individual ideas going away. Bill, as you mentioned at the beginning of the show, I'm the author of a book called Still Breathing: The Wisdom and Teachings of a Perfectly Flawed Man. Well, I published that book with almost no money, no Twitter following at the time. And within 3 weeks, I was like #1 for my categories on Amazon, and I had a bestseller. Wow. Well, my formula was I came out and I said, I'm going to just speak genuinely from the heart. I'm not going to worry about offending people, but I'm also not going to be worried about being vulnerable and sharing the real, authentic version of myself with people. Right. And I think what happens is when you do that, people can deal with you being wrong or being an idiot and saying dumb things if they know you're really sincere about it and you're willing to cop to that and you're coming from a genuine place. I think this is the magic of Donald Trump, is he's showing people, again, talk. We need to have these discussions. We need to have people that are right. We need to have people that are wrong and are willing to be wrong fearlessly and talk about their ideas. And I think culturally, we had went for so long without anybody being courageous enough to come out publicly and say the things that he was saying. And Brian nailed it. This gave the Marine Le Pen's the way she did, or Brexit, Nigel Farage, and some of these people. And I agree with you. I think this is their last shot, because I think typically history has two options. You can do it the democratic way and you vote the change, or you wait till it gets so bad and then you've got usually violence that follows to make that change. But there always is going to be that change. This is their chance to do it.